Okay, so I've got a lot of dreams, big goals, and aspirations, and I'm sure you do too. We all want something. But something I've been thinking about recently is what do we do if some of these things can't actually be solved with our effort? What if it's just time that solves them? What are we supposed to do while we wait? What are we supposed to do while we wait? Nothing? Or is there something we might actually be able to do that can get us there faster? Or, what if it's just time? Should we change our focus? And that's what I'm going to talk about here. Let me explain. One of my biggest goals is to travel, and I even have an earlier video on my channel that talks about how in my lifetime I want to travel to all 63 US national parks. While I love the idea of being able to do something like that, there's a huge flaw, and that flaw is me being in college. I'm just a sophomore, and I have like 3 years left, and if I don't pick up the pace, it's gonna be more. This also goes to say that I don't exactly have the money to travel either. Without some of these tools, I don't have the funds to be able to travel until I get out of college and get a real job. This makes me wonder if somehow these goals are hindering me from living completely in the moment because I'm constantly thinking about how I want to travel. Does that really stop us from experiencing everything to the fullest right now? What I've begun to do because of this is take some of these long-term goals and either shorten them or make increments between me being where I am right now and the end point of these goals. For example, I'll take me traveling. Instead of thinking all the time about how I want to travel, I'll take that goal and basically just pause it for the time being, and I'll replace it with a different one that fits me right now. A really good one for me right now would just be to enjoy college until I graduate. Don't get me wrong, of course I want to travel, it's still like one of my life goals, but the fact that I know I won't be able to do it right now kind of is a problem for me because what happens if I just sit here for the next 3 years and constantly think about that? I feel like there might be something that I'd miss out on within those 3 years that would be worth remembering. I think lately I've found that this shifting in goals has allowed me to be more present and therefore currently happy, and I think that's really important for me, mainly because I think of happiness more of an experience and not necessarily an emotion or a destination. And it's for that reason that I've started making my goals more short-term or more incremental than they used to be. The second thing that I want to talk about is this idea of delaying gratification. I've heard so much about it, and I do think it's a good idea, but I think I've held a little too closely to that sometimes. Now, I like the idea because it makes sense. If you told me that instead of taking instant gratification now, I could have more or better of that thing or situation later on, I would. That's just logical. I'll even use my travel example from earlier. If I waited and delayed my gratification, I would absolutely be able to travel more and more of the way that I want if I waited until I got out of college to start that new chapter of my life. Although I've also been thinking about that, and there's another perspective that I'm starting to hold on to. This involves contentment, and you can probably guess what I'm about to say. If you follow that idea of delayed gratification too closely, I feel like you might actually miss out on an opportunity to have a more fulfilling life. If you're constantly waiting for the right time, I feel like that can get dangerous. Because if you never find the right time, and then you end up just making that opportunity happen, you might have just waited for no reason to have the exact same experience. And to add on to that, what if you waited so long that you actually missed out on that opportunity in the first place? And now it's gone and you have to look for something new. Now, personally, I tend to get hyper-focused on ideas and concepts, so I've started to let go of that idea of delayed gratification just a little bit because I know that it's not necessarily always a good thing for me personally to always keep waiting. I've been trying to work on this because I think it's allowing me to be a little bit more balanced with myself. But yes, you can see where some of these ideas kind of contradict themselves, and this is basically just my mind all in a video on these topics, so I'm basically just putting it all down as a rough draft. I definitely think that some things are worth waiting for, but there are a lot of other things that you may just want to go for immediately, and being able to find that is so difficult, but also so rewarding. I'm also pretty fond of trying to have a low bar for contentment, which is basically just the word for, a state of happiness. By allowing yourself to be a lot more okay with what's actually happening on a daily basis and not looking so far in the future, like 1 or 2 years, and really keeping our present self in mind, I think that allows us to be just as happy, maybe not more happy, depending on some situations, than if we waited for gratification. But that really is the challenge, to be able to distinguish what's worth waiting for versus what you should do and take advantage of right now is so difficult. And it's a powerful tool if you can figure out exactly what you should do for yourself. My best advice would be to keep this in mind. Nobody can predict the future. It is completely up to you and your life, your environment, that will aid you in making these kinds of decisions. It will lead to you making certain decisions over others and possibly even deferring decisions altogether, choosing not to do something. You never really know what's good or bad or right or wrong when it comes to this kind of thing, but I think that's kind of the fun part, and maybe this just goes for life in general, but we just have to find the balance. If you feel like the time is right, then I think you should just go for it. And hey, maybe this is your sign to take advantage of whatever opportunity is coming your way. And if you don't think the time is right, then just take a step back, take a moment to think, and then ask yourself the question again. You never know what could happen until it happens. That's about it for me. I hope you enjoyed listening to my brain dump on these topics. This is something that's super big in my life, so maybe it can become a part of yours, or maybe it already is, and I helped you go a certain direction. Whatever that is, I'm just glad you're here. I'm glad you listened, and if you like the video, then subscribe. Hey, I'm always making new videos every week. If you have anything that you'd like to talk about, whoever you might be, write something down in the comments below, and I'll make sure I keep an eye out and I'll watch for it. But that's about it. Have a great day, and I'll see you next week.